All right. So now we hopefully you guys can hear me. Just different setup today. Just found a little side area. So hopefully it's not too loud here. So we left off yesterday on Daf Kuf Lamed Amud Aleph, or Kuf Lamed, right at the top Amud Aleph, started a new parak. Rabbi Eliezer Demilo. So Rabbi Eliezer Oimer Im Lo Hevi Kli Me'erev Shabbos Meviu B'Shabbos Megula. So if one doesn't go ahead, and we know that bris milah is doicha Shabbos, that if it turns out if it's on the 8th day, the one that overrides the Shabbos. So there's many preparations that have to be done for bris milah, such as being able to go ahead and bring the knife to the baby. So if the person does not bring the izemel, the knife that's going to be used for the bris milah, then he should bring it uncovered on Shabbos so people will see it. And however, it's time of sakana, when one giving bris milah was a risk, right, because of the authorities, then he basically should show witnesses that what he's carrying, and then he should go ahead and carry it. Right, you could even go ahead and cut wood on Shabbos in order to make charcoal to heat up, to heat up something to go ahead and make iron for the instruments for the knife for the bris milah. So that is basically a preparation to the preparation. So even to that point, one would be allowed to do according to Rabbi Eliezer. At Klalam, Rabbi Akiva says Rabbi Akiva, Kol malacha she'efshar la'asos me'erev Shabbos eina deiches Shabbos. No, if it could be done on the erev Shabbos, if it wasn't something that if it was something that someone could have foreseen, then it would be forbidden to do on Shabbos. It's not deiches Shabbos. She'efshar la'asos me'erev Shabbos deiches Shabbos. However, if it was impossible to do from before, let's say it wasn't around, or whatever, the person physically couldn't do it, or it was impossible to do, then it would be override Shabbos, but otherwise you would have to wait, and it would not override Shabbos. So let's see the Gemara. A question was asked. So Talmud Rabbi Eliezer mishum chivu mitzvah, or idil mishum chashada. Is it because of the chivu mitzvah? Rabbi Eliezer says you have to walk around with it uncovered. So is it to show his love for the mitzvah, and to show that he's basically caring for to do the mitzvah of bris milah, and therefore it's for the love of the mitzvah? Or is it because that people see him caring, they won't know it's for the purpose of a mitzvah, and we should show him so people aren't chayshesh that person is doing something else? So lamai nafkamina, what's the nafkamina? So let's say you tell witnesses, right? You tell witnesses. If you say it's because of we want to go ahead and publicize the mitzvah, so telling two witnesses and then covering it doesn't help. It's not publicizing it, right? However, so but if the chashash, that even if you cover it, then you could also do it. So what's halacha there? So it says beferish Rabbi Levi that it was done strictly for chibuvin and mitzvah, because and that would be the reason why one would uncovers it. One goes ahead and he brings it revealed, and he does not go ahead and bring it does not bring it covered. That is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. And Amar Rav Ashi says, look at the words of our mission. The Tanya says that there was shasa sakana machseu al pi edim. It says that during the time of sakana, only when it was a danger, then he would cover and tell witnesses. However, sakana only during times of sakana. Shalom sakana, but if it was not during times of sakana, therefore it's not just telling people, hey, if people say I was carrying something else in Shabbos, well, you guys are my witnesses that I'm just carrying the knife for the purpose of bris milah. No, that's not the purpose. The purpose is not so people aren't chayshesh. The purpose is to go ahead and publicize the mitzvah of bris milah. So shmamina mishum chaviv in mitzvah shmamina. So indeed, we can learn from here that this is the reason. Right, that you go ahead and you bring it uncovered, and you don't go ahead and cover it. That's been Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yehuda Imer. Right, they used to go during the times of sakana. They would go ahead and cover it during through witnesses. Is it ihu v'chad? Is it him and one other person? Or Dilma who betray, or maybe it's him and he has to tell two people. So Tashma, come on, listen. Uva sakana machseu al pi edim, right? So during the times of sakana, our Mishnah says that you go ahead and cover it with witnesses. Witnesses say you cover it, and then you're carrying that, when you carry it. So if you say it's him and two others, in other words, he's warning two other people, then shaper, then it works out well. But if you say it's only him and one other person, what does it mean? He told witnesses. He didn't tell witnesses. He told witness. He told one person, not two people. So our answer is no. My Eidim, what does it mean? Eidim sharuim in other words, witnesses, it could be maybe he told one person. Why is he called witnesses? Because in a case of him and this person, they can go ahead and testify somewhere else. So it is technically witnesses because him and this other person could be witnesses in other cases. Fine. 2 dots. We are 4 lines down in the wider lines. Furthermore, says Rabbi Eliezer, Tana Rabbanim, Rabbi Eliezer, how you course in eitzim lasais pachmin lasais barzel b'Shabbos. In the place of Rabbi Eliezer, they used to go ahead and cut wood because they would hold like Rabbi Eliezer in order to make the charcoal, in order to make the iron or the metal on Shabbos. In the place of Rabbi Yosef Glili, so that was they used to go act like their Rav, and in the place of Rabbi Yosef Glili, how you eichlin basar oif b'chalov. They used to go ahead and eat bird meat, right? That which we learn is machlokes in the Gemara about eating milk and meat together. It only mentions by an animal. It's machlokes as to whether one can go ahead and have chicken with cheese or milk or other types of birds. So according to Rabbi Yossi Haglili, he learned the Pesukim that you actually one is permitted. And in that place of Rabbi Yossi Haglili, they used to go ahead and follow their Rav, and they would eat bird meat with milk. And Levi Ikla Lebe Yosef Rishba. So one time, Levi was in the house of Yosef Rishba, Yosef the trapper. So Kivalei Reisha, the Tava B'Chavla, they brought him out, right, the head of a peacock to go ahead and have with milk, right? He brought it with milk, right? And lo achal, however, he did not go ahead and eat it. Right? Why did you guys not put, him in a chayrim? You should have put a chayrim. The guy is, he's feeding, milk and meat together. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, that's the place. He lives in the city of Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira. And I say perhaps he holds like Rabbi Yosef Glili. It's not we're learning the Mishnah. Rabbi Yosef Glili the pasuk says you should not go ahead and eat nevela. Right, nevela is an animal that died without shechita. It's a carcass, right? And also says you should not go ahead and cook a kid in its mother's milk. So esjas from the shum nevela, that which is also because of nevela, right? Something that becomes a carcass, also lavasha b'challah, right? That becomes forbidden to go ahead and have with milk. And oaf, however, bird sh'asim shum nevela, which is also yachal also lavasha b'challah. Maybe you go ahead and think that. Right, since birds, right, a bird that dies without shechita is nevela, so therefore, the same should apply that one is not allowed to go ahead. Since it applies to nevela, so too it should apply that you can't go ahead and have it with milk. So maybe a bird's included that. Yachal also levasha b'chalab. Tamaloymar b'chalev imo yatzov shemo chalev imo. It's only talking about animals that have its mother's milk. But since a bird doesn't have its mother's milk, therefore Rabbi Yosef Glili rules that no, bird meat is not included in the prohibition of eating it with milk. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yosef Glili, he does in that way. And since that was the town of Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, perhaps Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira paskin like Rabbi Yosef Glili, that would be permitted. Unfortunately, nowadays we do not like paskin like Rabbi Yosef Glili, and we do not go ahead and have chicken with melted cheese in it.
Rabbi,
yeah.
But nowadays, if we go to a town in Israel, Tiberia, or any town, and
right.
the biggest rabbi in that town does it this way, as opposed, I guess it's different between Babel and Israel. But the point is, can we then hold by the top rabbi in that municipality because that's what the way they do it in there?
So it would be permitted. However, at the time of I think the way halacha works, I think basically the time of when the Shulchan Aruch came out and the other halachic svarim, right? Then they sort of everyone came to almost like a compromise in terms of what we hold and how we paskin, between the Rambam, because there was the Rambam and there was the Rush. There's 3 different opinions that came earlier years, and then it was sort of brought down together in the Shulchan Aruch, which he usually picked 2 out of 3, right, between the Rambam, the Rif, and the Rush. So therefore, before the Shulchan Aruch was put together, in the times of the Gemara, I wouldn't say it was more like the Wild West, but it did have to do with individual Masorah of the rabbi. But since then, 400 or 500 years ago, from the time of Rabbi Yossi Karo, then halacha, was different, and even especially now, with the Mishnah Berurah, based on the Shulchan Aruch, for the most part, we go like the Mishnah Berurah. So it's not as much anymore as this rabbi holds this way. I can hold like my rabbi, because things have now sort of been put together in a more of a framework than it was before. But that's a good question. So Rabbi Yitzchak. There was a city, one city in Eretz Yisrael, they used to do like Rabbi Eliezer, who we said would basically do the malachas on Shabbos, right, to show their love and dearness for the mitzvah of Milah. The hayu meisim bismanam, and they would die during their time. Notice they would not die early, right? They wouldn't die early. They didn't suffer, what other communities suffered. One time they were geyser on the milah, not to do bris milah. But in that city did not get it because they had this special schus of listening to their Rav of Rabbi Eliezer. And Tani Lin Brisa. Kol mitzvah shekiblu aleihem b'simcha kigoyin milah. Any mitzvah that they were makabel b'simcha, such as milah, which it says over there, sasaneichi al imrasecha kemaitzi shel Rav. Right, they got like the happiness, right? By that what you're saying, a person who finds a lot of items. So they were happy when the mitzvah of bris milah was given over. They couldn't wait to follow. Those are still done b'simcha. However, anything that Bnei Yisrael basically was makabel reluctantly, then could go in arayas, for instance, illicit relations. The pasuk says, "Vayishma Moshe Sa'am Abeichel Mishpachosav," and Moshe Rabbeinu heard the people; they were crying the Mishpachosav for their families. What does it mean? Al Iske Mishpachosav, right? In terms of having the matters they have to do with the family. In other words, part of Arias was forbidding one from different relatives. So part of that they were crying over because they weren't happy about this mitzvah of the new prohibitions of Arias and Adayin Aisin. So too, those are still done with. Not always with issues and with contention, and so deleka ksuba delay ramuba tigra, right? Because there is no ksuba written without any sort of fights, in terms of these matters. We see even the matters of marriage, right? Those are included, I guess, with different fights. So that also all came because when the arayos were given, they were being makabel reluctantly and forcefully. And time of the Rebbe Shimon ben Elazar, Kol mitzvah shemasu Yisrael atzman alei and lamisa, any mitzvah that Bnei Yisrael basically were willing to give up their lives for, the Shas Gzeras HaMalchus, during the times of when the Romans were going to give it up, Kigoyin Avodas Kachavim, Umila. For instance, Avodas Kachavim they wouldn't transgress, or they would do Mila even though they weren't supposed to. Adayin Hi Muchseches Biyotim. That is still in the hands of, that is still being done to this day by Bnei Yisrael. However, the Shas Gezeres Hamalchus, and any mitzvah that Bnei Yisrael did not basically were Meister Nefesh for death, they weren't willing to die for. So B'Shas Gezeres Hamalchus, during the time of when it was decreed to go in tefillin, such as tefillin, adayin he merufa biyadim. It's still weak in their hand. It's not done as much as the other ones that they were being willing to be meiser nefesh to give up their lives for. Dam Rabbi Yana. Rabbi Yana says tefillin tzrichen gufnaki, that tefillin needs a clean body, and people aren't as careful as one should be because we're not metikulous on mitzvah because we weren't willing to give up our lives for the mitzvah of tefillin. And Kalisha Bal Kanafayim, like the mice of Kalisha Bal Kanafayim, which we actually saw earlier, Mahi was a mice, Amar Abaye. So he used to go ahead and basically keep his body very clean. And Abaye, and how did he keep it clean? So Amar Abaye Shalei Afiach Behem, right? He would not pass gas in it, and wearing his tefillin. And Rav Amar Shalei Yisham Behem, and Rav said he would not go ahead and sleep in them. The Mai Karlu lay Elisha Bal Kanafayim. And why was he called Elisha Bal Kanafayim? Why was he called Elisha? Right, like dove wings, right? Or the one time the Roman government, they put a gzera decree on Bnei Yisrael that they can't go ahead. Whoever goes ahead and puts tefillin on their head will get a spear in their head. They will be killed. Elisha did not care. He put on his tefillin, he went to the shuk, and then all of a sudden, An officer saw him. Didn't think an officer would see him. An officer saw him. He said, he ran from him, and he chased him. He caught up to him, and when he got him, he quickly took off his Tilon Sharosh. He put it in his hand, right? He put it in his hand to cover up so the guy would not see it. Amarlei Mabi Yadecha. He says, well, okay, what's in your hand? Amarlei, Kanfe Yaina. Right now, I have the wings of a dove. Right, you can go now. So he says, well, Pasha. So let me see it. All right, Pasha Yadav Venimsa. He opened up his hands. Venimso, ba Kanfe Yon. And a miracle happened, and his Tilon turned into the wings of a dove. The fichach, and therefore the officer went away, and he couldn't catch him. So the fichach, therefore, therefore he was called Elisha Bal Kanafayim because of this mitzvah that occurred on his behalf. And Ma'ishna Kanfayona, why do they bedafka? Why are the wings of doves? Amarlei, V'loi Amarlei Sharofos. Why did he say that of a dove and he didn't say that of a bird? Mishum did the Ramya Knesset Yisrael Yona, because the Knesset Yisrael is compared to a Yona, a Dosh. And the Pasuk says Kanfayona nechaba b'chasef. So it says over there, the pasuk says they'll be like the wings of a dove, which is covered with silver and gold. Right, it'll be beautiful. And why b'dafka yona? So my yona is that confirm megina salat. Afisa mitzvah megina salat. Or just like a dove, its wings protected around its sides, so to Klal Bnei Israel, so the mitzvahs will go ahead and protect them. Fine. Now we'll start the next sugya. So it says over there, 2 dots, 2 lines from the bottom. Omer Rabbi Abba bar Rav Adam Rabbi Yitzchak Pamachas Shachu v'lo hiviu izem erev Shabbos ve'hiviu b'Shabbos. So one time, so they forgot to go ahead and bring the knife for the bris milah. Right, the day 8 was on Shabbos, so it was supposed to do a bris milah, and they forgot to bring the knife. So they forgot to bring the knife. So what did they do? So lazy is erev Shabbos. So hiviu b'Shabbos. Right, they brought on Shabbos. Right, and you read the parentheses here. Derech gagos v'derech chatzeros. They brought it either through the chatzeros, through the courtyards, or through on the roofs. Right now, they didn't bring it from house to house. They didn't violate a doraisa. Right? We know midoraisa. You're forbidden 3 things. Right? You can't go ahead and carry from a private domain to a public domain. Right, Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. You can't carry from outside into inside Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, and you also can't carry it 4 amos in a Rosh Hashanah. Right, you can't carry it beyond 4 amos of Rosh Hashanah. Those are the 3 things that are prohibited midoraisa. Other cases we have are midrabanan. If something is a chatzer, something is a mavui, something is a gag. Right, these things like a courtyard or an alleyway or roofs. Those are not covered doraisa. Those are midrabanan. We say, oh, those are similar to a public way, and therefore we're going to say that this is also forbidden, right? But that midrash is not forbidden. So they brought it only through upon the roofs and the courtyards, and so therefore they only violated their abundance, right? Shaloi b'ratzon. However, they did it shaloi b'ratzon and Rabbi Eliezer. They didn't do it with Rabbi Eliezer's approval, right? Because Rabbi Eliezer, remember, holds you can be mechalel Shabbos, right? To go ahead. So he, according to Rabbi Eliezer, carry it through the streets, carry it through the Rosh Hashanah. Don't go through the alleys and the siders and the chatzeros and on the roofs. You can carry it. But they didn't do like Rabbi Eliezer.
I'm sorry. I'm having a little hard time with the whole knife thing. And I thought we were done with it in the beginning. So that's why I think, but since we're going back to it. So when there's a bris on Shabbos, I understand that it's a muksa knife, but this bris supersedes Shabbos, and there's no problem with doing a bris on Shabbos. So the question is, like, you have to display it, like that's the whole thing. Like you have to.
Right. So the issue is if it wasn't brought, let's say the baby's in the house, or
right. That's what we're discussing right now. That it happened after Shabbos started. Now it's a mulad, or whatever, right?
Right. So it happened at Shabbos. All of a sudden, the next day, Saturday. Okay, we have the mile. Right. We have the baby. How are you gonna cut the oil? How are you gonna perform the bris? You need the knife. Right. I don't have the knife here. The knife is down the street.
Right.
How do you get it here at Shabbos? It's not allowed to carry. There's no eruv. Right. So they said you're allowed to go ahead and carry it on Shabbos into the streets. You're never allowed to carry it, right? You can't carry outside if there's no eruv, right? It's Rosh Hashanah. You're allowed to go ahead and carry it and hold it in your hand proudly. I'm going to head to go perform a bris milah.
That's the key. Because you're allowed, you should display it. You shouldn't hide it.
Right. That was my focus if it was displayed or not. But over here we see that they brought it. They forgot it in another house, but they brought it only in a derabanan way. They didn't violate the deraisa. They only violated the derabanan.
But you just said there's no deraisa violation. You just said it's totally permissible.
Right. It's permissible because this case. Now, you're allowed. When I say it's permissible, it means you're allowed to violate the deraisa. That's what I mean.
I understand. Okay,
Yes.
Squire, thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you.
So Maskell Rav Yosef, so top line on Kuflam and Beis. So Maskell Rav Yosef is a kasha. He said over there, Shalai, Baratza, and Rabbi Eliezer. Adirabba, Rabbi Eliezer with the Shari. What do you mean without Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Eliezer is the one who says it's mutter to do. Normally you can't carry right through chatzeros and gagos, but through courtyards and roofs. So, and Rabbi Eliezer one's one he says you're allowed to be mechalel Shabbos for the purpose of the bris milah. It's a big mitzvah. So he says, that maybe you could say now like Rabbi Eliezer, because Rabbi Eliezer says you can even violate a Torah law. You can even violate a deraisa like carrying in the Shus HaRabim, right? And not just through the roofs, because that's not the normal way. There's not a lot of people going from roof to roof or yard to yard. But maybe it was more like the Rabbanan who only hold that they forbid to go into Shus HaRabim. The Sharo Derech, and they may be permitted Derech Gagos, the Derech Chatzer V'Karfefos. And do they do that? Umi Shari, do they? The Rabbanan matu that? But Tana Lunar Bryce, Shem Shem Mevin Isa Derech Sharabim Kachen Mevino Solo Derech Gagos, V'lo Derech Karfefos, V'lo Derech Chatzeros. We say Farish that the Rabbanan, just like they didn't allow you to go ahead and carry it in the public domain in the Rosh Hashanah, they didn't even allow you to carry you on the roofs or anything. So which one is it? Rabbi Eliezer says even the Rosh Hashanah is mutter, and the Rabbanan say even the roofs are usher. So which one did the Maisa over there did they do? Did they say it was Maisa, right? So who do they act like? Rather, it doesn't mean they didn't act like Rabbi Eliezer. It says they didn't even act like Rabbi Eliezer, and who we argued with, which is the Rabbanan, because the Rabbanan said everything is us, so you can't carry it at all, and you got to wait till the next day. You can't do it now on Shabbos. And according to Rabbi Eliezer, you should carry it through the public domain and not go around, on the roofs, which is not a deraisa, right? Rather, Ella Baratzan Rabbi Shimon. Rather, they act like Rabbi Shimon. The Tanai were in the mission, Rabbi Shimon Aimer, Echad Gagos, Echad Karfifos, Echad Chatzeros. Whether it's the roof or Karfifos is like an open, like a field, or courtyards, Kulan Rishus Echad Hein Lakesh Shasam B'Seichad. Those are considered to be a rishus. One rishus, and that was the gzeir that the Rabbanan said not to carry, didn't apply to them. The Keish Shasam B'Seichad. In terms, if there was something that was left, let's say on the roof, right, when Shabbos started, you can carry it throughout the roof. So therefore, since perhaps the knife was left in an area, right, not in a house, but it was left in one of these areas, such as a roof or in a courtyard, then you can go ahead and carry it throughout the courtyard in order to another area, in order to go ahead and get the bris milah. But if the utensils were left in a house, then you wouldn't be able to carry it from the house into the gagos. But Rabbi Shimon was makil when it comes to if the item was in one of these non-public areas before Shabbos, as long as it was in the house, you're allowed to go ahead and carry it throughout. It would not be a violation, and that was indeed the case of this the pamachas that we brought on the bottom. Fine. So boy mine Reb Zera mi Rabasi. So Reb Zera has a question on Rabasi. Mavui shelo yishtatfu bo ma'ul taltu bekulo. So we have a mavui. Now the way it used to have was there were houses that were attached to a courtyard, right? There were basically joint houses open up into a courtyard. There are multiple courtyards attached to an alley. So basically, let's just make a number. There were 4 houses that shared a yard, that shared a chatzer, right? And basically, there were 4 chatzeros that that led into an alley, into a mavui. Okay, so in total, the mavui basically was, there 16 people would use this alleyway to go into the streets. So it basically went from the Rishus Harabim into the mavui to the chatzeros to the houses. That was sort of how the community or the physically it was set up. So the question is, let's say now in order to be able to go ahead and carry from the mavui, right, from one's courtyard into the mavui, they would need a shitufei mavuyos. They just like we have an eruv, right? An eruv, right? We're more common with an eruv when we share yards. Basically they make an eruv chatzeros, as we've done by where I live, right? So everyone can basically make the chatzer like everyone's, and therefore you can carry from a house into the chatzer to the house. So to the same thing applied of carrying from these courtyards, these chatzers, the chatzeros into the mavui, right? So let's say, but they did not make a sheet of imavi. Let's say they never made this aid. It's called a sheet of imavi. But let's say they didn't make it for the courtyard. So can you just carry in the mavui? You know, I don't want to go ahead and carry from the mavui into the courtyards into the houses. I just want to carry throughout the mavui. Mahu l'talta b'kulo. What is halacha? Are we allowed to go ahead and be metalta b'kulo? Right? Me and do we say kichatzer dami? It's like a chatzer. Ma chatzer afal gav to la'irvu mutzul l'talta b'kulo by a chatzer. Even though, let's say they never made an erev, right, with the chatzer. So you can't carry from the houses into the chatzer or vice versa. But if something was left in the chatzer before Shabbos, you can carry it throughout the chatzer. You just can't carry it into the houses. So Hainami, so too in the case of the Mavi. If something was left in the Mavi, so to the Mavi. If you didn't go ahead and make a Shitufui Mavi, nevertheless, you can carry throughout the Mavi. Oh, or perhaps, maybe it's not similar to a Chatzar, right? The Chatzar, if it's Arba Chitzas, by a Chatzar, maybe the reason why you can carry throughout, even though there's no Erev, is because, right, there is a Mechitza. So, let's say Arba Mechitzas, but over here, there is no 4 walls in a Mavi, it's only 3 walls. Right? Inami or chatzar, you say diru, and let's say diru. Or maybe a chatzar. The reason I can carry is because since people live in a house which is connected to a courtyard, maybe that's the reason why we're allowed to carry. Right? But a mavui, which is not connected to where people live, right? It's connected to courtyards, which are connected to houses, then maybe it's different. Maybe you wouldn't be able to carry throughout the mavui. So the question is, in a mavui, without any sort of shituf, are you allowed to go ahead and carry throughout the mavui or not? So he was quiet. He didn't give him a teretz. So later on, Zimnim Ashched Yosef Kamar. So Reb Zer found Rav Asi, and he was teaching, and he said, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Mishum Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Pamachas Shachuv Lo Yaviu Yizem Erev Shabbos. The same ma'aseh we had before when they forgot to bring the knife before Shabbos. And what do? Ve'Haviu b'Shabbos, and they brought it on Shabbos. V'Haya Hadavar Kasha LeChachamim. It was difficult for the Chachamim to understand. Why was it mutter to do? So, hey, Manichin, I always think of Rabbi Eliezer. How could they be Mechal Shabbos in their eyes, and like according to the rabbis, because the Rabbanan held that it's us to go ahead. If you forgot the knife, that's too bad. You're done. Wait till the next day, or find another alternative, right? How did they go ahead and do that, and act like Rabbi Eliezer, right? Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, you're allowed to carry for the purpose of Bris Milah. Chachamim say you can't do it, and so how could they not do the Chachamim? They went like Rabbi Eliezer. First of all, the Rabbi Eliezer Shamusehi. First of all, Rabbi Eliezer was, I guess he was put in cherem, right? He was put in cherem. He was excommunicated for the Maisa of when they disputed over Tuma. And he basically had, the Rabbanan, he went against the Rabbanan, and they basically went to the extent of the argument to put him in cherem. And furthermore, Yachid Rabbi Halacha Garabim. When you have, right, one individual, right, arguing with the Rabbanan, with multiple Rabbanan, we go like the Rov, we go like the majority. So why do they rule like Rabbi Eliezer and be Mekal Shabbos? Rabbi Yoshin said up there, Shaul says Rabbi Yehuda had geyser by release. So I asked Rabbi Yehuda had geyser, right? They asked Rabbi Yehuda, who he was like a male. So he asked him, Rabbi Yehuda had geyser, and he said, it wasn't, they didn't just carry it, they were the Mechal Doraisa. Rather, it was a mavui that there was no shituf. There was a movie. There was no shituf, so no, it wasn't like it was connected with all the other courtyards. They brought it from one corner to the other. So in other words, it was a case of a mavui without a shituf, and we see clearly that one could go ahead and basically carry throughout the mavui, even though there is no shituf. And Amarle Srile Lamar. Is this what you hold? Right? You hold this that basically a mavui. The question we asked before, that a mavui that was not had a shituf is mutter to go ahead and carry it throughout.
A question.
Yeah.
The mavoi was halachically connected to one chaser, right? The rest of the chaserot were connected to each other. Is that how it works?
No, the mavui was basically connected on 3 sides to other chaseros. So
to all the other chaserot.
Right. But they never made a shituf with one another to connect the chatzeres together. But, so if it was just in the mavui, he said you can carry it. So Amarle Inu. So he said, Amarle, I've hazim boy minach. Didn't I ask you this yesterday or last week, and you said you didn't know? So he says, oh, maybe you didn't ask me. Dilma aga shitcha right gemarach. Maybe after you went through learning it, right, then you remembered it. So Amarle Inu, yes, agav shitcha reiti ligmar. Right? Yes. I do remember that's exactly what happened, right? Once I started going through the sugya, then I remembered that yes, if there was no shituf, then you could go ahead and carry throughout. So Itamar, right? If you have a mavui that there was no shituf, ein mataltlin bo ela abar amos. You can't go ahead. You can carry in it 4 amos. So in other words, it's not like we said before. Before we said you can carry throughout. Here we're just saying up to 4 amos, right? Right? Only up to the distance of 4 amos. Amar Abaye, how most Amar the Reb Zeir v'lo Pirsha. Right? This is separate Reb Zeir. He just said, Adios to Rabbi Baravu Pirsha until Rabbi Baravu came, and he said, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabbi Baravu, Amar Rav, Mavui shlin shatvu bo Eru Chatzeres Batim. If you have a mavui that there was no shituf, so Eru Chatzeres Batim. If there was an Eruv Chatzeros of the courtyards, right? And so notice the chatzeros were connected to the houses. Notice each courtyard of the houses attached to it had an eruv. Then ein metalton bo el bar bamos. So you can't go ahead and carry it. However, lo eruv chatzeros batim. But if there was no eruv, right, of the chatzeros with the houses, then mutal bekulo, right? Because if there was no eruv with the houses, then basically the houses are disconnected from the chatzer. If the houses are disconnected from the chutzah, then there is no basically private domain leading into the mavui, and therefore you can carry throughout. But if the chatzeros each have eruv chatzeros with the houses, then basically it makes the chutzah like a private domain. So therefore, then each chutzah, it's like a bunch of quote unquote now new houses or private domains attached to this mavui. That's why you wouldn't be allowed to. But if there was no eruv between the house and the chatzeros, then you can't carry from the house into the chatzer. If I can't carry from the house into the chatzer, then basically this mavui, which is basically 2 properties over, because it's house, chatzer, mavui. If you can't carry from the house into the chatzer, then basically the mavui is completely disconnected from the houses, and therefore it would be permitted to go ahead and carry throughout. So in other words, when can I carry throughout the mavui? If the houses are disconnected from the chatzeros with no eruv. But if there is an eruv, then you can only carry up to Daled Amos. And we'll stop here. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, we'll continue. We'll go from here. Everyone should have a wonderful day. And see you in a couple of days. But tomorrow morning, same time.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Mazel tov.